Welcome everyone into another PUBG Masterclass. Today I will be looking at Taego with none other than Shrimzy from the Soniqs. Shrimzy, how's things?
Dude, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good, thanks. It was a pretty good 2023 for you guys, right? You finally got to win an international event again after a little while off, and you got to be feeling good about the way you guys were playing.
Yeah, it was it's definitely exciting to win internationals. I think that's the whole reason you play PUBG to begin with, is to get to that international stage and win. So yeah, we've been playing pretty good PUBG. We had a pretty successful year last year in terms of internationals, but we got to start winning regionals again. So
Yeah, it was a bit of a strange year last year for the Americas with Fumba winning one and obviously SSG. It was kind of strange to see someone outside of you guys and Team 69 or the Luminosity roster or whatever that roster is going to be called in 2-3 weeks time. But
yeah.
I think for you guys and the Team 69, it is all about just focusing and getting locked in this year. But I want to talk about you first off. I gotta say, right now you're probably the best North American player with the way you're showing up and showing out in the server every single week. What are you doing to keep those levels so high? Like, how do you perform so well every single time you go out, whether it be scrims, events, or just anything in between?
Well, first off, I want to say there's a bunch of very good North American players, and I don't consider myself the best, but I appreciate it. I appreciate that. That's very kind. But no, it's just about I personally think that grinding the game in general is just really good, but grinding with your team, I think, is more important. It just depends on who gets the best positions in game. So as long as you're doing well mechanically and your team is also very good, it's very easy to put up good numbers. But a credit to my teammates, because without them I wouldn't be near as good as I am. So thank you guys.
Well, look, there's definitely a lot of study you can do, right? People talk about getting the best positions in game. That all comes from practice, right? People are like, oh, this team's fed, that team got luck. But in reality, it's all about reading the situation and knowing what's going on about you. So just out of curiosity, how much time do you guys spend as a team, watching back VODs, studying other teams' movement patterns, studying zones, or is that kind of something that Gunner would do behind the scenes and then give to you guys?
So both H1 and Gunner do a lot of like Twire watching and competition watching. So most of the credit goes to them because they're insane at it. But yeah, every day we do VOD review before, like right after I'm done doing this, I have 15 minutes before I have to be in VOD review. So we do an hour before scrims. We all get together and VOD review the last day, go over comms if we have any like situations where we missed information or something like pretty bad happened. We'll go over comms in certain games to try to get rid of that stuff, because it's very bad for a team to have if people are missing information or if we're on different pages and stuff like that. So most of the credit goes to H1 and Gunner because they set that stuff up and they have the twires that we need to watch, and basically they do all the work. We're just there for it. So yeah, so credit to them. They keep us in check for sure.
Yeah, and final question. I don't want to talk too much about it because I know you had a chat with Ko about it recently, but obviously he got kicked into the roster. It's a change. He's a very different player to Mime. How are you guys feeling now as a team going into every single event you'll play?
Oh, we're the most confident we've ever been, of course. Like, having Kick on the team has been insane. He is a very good player. And yeah, like we said, he is a very different player than we're used to. So it's just something we had to get used to. But I mean, we've had enough time as a team. It's time we figure it out. So we'll be confident for sure.
Well, I'm definitely excited to see what 2024 will hold and beyond for Soniqs. But without further ado, this is, of course, the masterclass for Taego. So we're going to get stuck right on in. So for the viewers at home, up on your screen, and for you as well, Shrimzy, you will see that wonderful map on your screens right now. So Shrimzy, first off, for the viewers at home, talk us through the Soniqs drop spots and the reasoning behind it.
Just Taego or all the drop spots?
On Taego.
Taego, we drop Terminal. We all four drop inside Terminal. We used to do the esports compound on the bottom right of it, but we do not anymore, southeast of it. Yeah. Anyways, we used to do that one, but we've determined that the people that loot on our east have priority on that, and it's kind of hard for us to fight. It's a little annoying. Probably don't get it internationally if we do. So yeah, we loot that because it has very good access to the northwest zones if we do have to be on the northwest island, and it has good lines to the south as well. So the only really bad shifts for us is like southwest, like Hosan Prison and stuff like that. But even then, we have like kill lines and stuff to fight teams. I personally don't think it very much matters where you loot on any map. I think that you should be able to loot anywhere and still do well. But having a more central spot is good.
Yeah, I think you said one thing you pointed out was the Southwest's not best for you. I think Southwest isn't best for a lot of teams on this map.
Yeah.
It's probably my least favorite part when we get to Taego. So, kind of looking at Taego and the way it plays out, I spoke with a few teams, and some of the compounds that they like to identify, particularly in the early zone, are these ones between fishing camp and terminal, right? So I know that SSG, they like to go there if the zone goes towards the east. Is that the sort of positioning on the map you're looking for when it does go west? Like, are you looking to take these hills that I'm highlighting right here and the ones that are just above Buksan Sa? Or, like, is there set patterns yet? Because I know in other maps that when there's circles that there is positions that you'll see you guys trend towards based on where it goes.
Yeah, for sure. If you were to look at all of our games on the west side of the circle, you would see for sure that we play into those west compounds that you highlighted first.
Yeah.
Those are pretty much priority for us if we could be the first team there. The only team that normally beats us there would be the team that's just north of us on like the road. They normally race us to that, and if we do beat them, then we have good priority unless it shifts west again. In which case, it's just you got to figure out what to do. But yeah, those compounds in that hill area is for sure like our priority on Circle 1 for most of the time.
And then speaking
if it goes west, I should say.
And speaking about that first move, one of the biggest things that I think I've noticed about Soniqs is 2.5, 3 minutes in is usually when you'll see you guys begin to spread out. Do you have any tips for maybe newer gamers or newer PUBG players on how to get looted up so quickly? I know that in comp, loot's a little bit higher than some of the other game modes, but do you have any tips for players on that?
Tips for looting is kind of hard because it's just kind of something you have to learn over time. Personally, for me, I think something that made it very brainless, like I didn't have to use my brain at all anymore, is they actually added a feature called like highlight ammo or highlight recommended items and stuff like that. I no longer had to like think about what I needed because it just pops up a little arrow there and you can just go over and grab it. I did that. I think it's very easy. I no longer have to use my brain whenever I'm looting. I'm just running through everything. But I mean, it's just, I don't know, helmet, vest, gun, scope, a few meds, and utility, and you're good to go. You don't need that much.
Perfect. Well, before we look into this game that you guys won pretty recently, the last thing I want to do is maybe talk about some popular callouts. So is there anywhere on this map that you guys have callouts for that you think might be useful for other people to know?
We have a few callouts, but we don't have like callouts that I think are relevant to other teams. Like a lot of our callouts are based on previous games that we've had. So like, for instance, the compound northeast of Busansa on the road, we call that Twisted Compound because we had a game internationally. Northeast, the other one, sorry. That one. Yep. So we call that Twisted Compound because we had a game at PGC where Twisted was in that compound and they beat us to it on a backfill, and they ended up winning the game. So we call it Twisted Compound because we had a game with theirs. And just a bunch of stuff, like we have an LG hill where it's northwest of Palace because that's where LG plays Circle 1 all the time. It's just stuff like that, a bunch of like small call outs that help us remember because we have like past experiences with them, but nothing like too broad. Like in Erangel you have like prio, break, stuff like that, so I don't think it would really be that helpful for viewers.
Well, the fun thing about having new maps added to the pool like Taego and Vikendi is a lot of these spots are going to get named by players and casters or the like based on things that happen at big international events. So you never know. We might have a Shrimzy compound at the end of PGS or PGC this year, and I'm sure you'd love to have a part of the map named after you. But let's get stuck straight into a game that you played recently that you guys won on this map. At the very start, I will put up some logos for the viewers to see, and then we'll get rid of them a little bit later. So we got that flight path going from the northeast to the southwest. You guys drop. You know that a lot of these teams are going to be in those positions. So going into the start of this year, straight off the bat, it looks like you've got no org just to your north. You've got Legacy dropping a little bit off towards the east, STK to the south, and I believe that's SSG that usually drop. I know that it's Risky Biscuits there tonight, but it's usually them that take that fishing camp drop spot. So when you see that flight path and you see that zone pop, what's the first thing that goes into your mind?
The first thing that goes into our mind is we're probably playing into that west hill like we highlighted just a little bit ago, or we're playing south based on plane path. That really it depends on what H1 wants to do, but those are our two options. We should know pretty much what's going to happen. SDK either decides to play in or play south, which is what we'll be doing. But it's what we do depends on what SDK does. So if SDK goes south, we go direct west into the zone. If SDK goes direct west into the zone, that means we're probably not going to get any priority. We go south. We know that Risky Biscuits has pretty good prio, so they'll play in front of us. Yahoo will play 4 in the compound because it's such a big compound. And then you'll have a team like Gas or something spread out in Swamp or take full south control. Or whoever the south team is will go a little deeper, so maybe there'll be a little bit of space on the south. So there's a lot of stuff that goes in our mind. Also, we have to be NRG on Circle 1, or we're not going to have any prio. So it's like you have a bunch of stuff to think about Circle 1, and it's all based on what you see in front of you. You can't just decide to do something and then see that everything in front of you is taken and still go, oh well, let's play straight in. Like that's not a valid takeaway. You have to decide what to do once you see everything. So probably play straight into the West Hill. But it's very dependent on what everyone else does. If SDK goes south, then we're very chilling, going straight in.
Yes, we'll
go. Sorry.
We'll speed up the time just a little bit to get to that first early rotation, and you can see that you guys have now moved. You've kind of got to that end of the zone, and you take that. Looks like you're taking that hill that we spoke about a little bit earlier, and I see that you stopped and scouted. So was it Shrimzy? So did you actually notice that there was more space available towards the west based on that little bit of time that you spent stopped, or was it just a case you got into no resistance so you decided to keep going?
So that little stop that I did is just so that they could pull up on the next hill, and once they get to the next hill, they could scout deeper in. And then once they scout deeper in, we can determine what to do. Right now, it's just trying to get info on the zone. But once we get to this hill, we could see that the tents are free, and we also see that we call it jump compound, by the way, the one south of where we are right now. That one, we call it jump compound because in ranked you just go flying into it. Like there's like a little ridge there, and you just like jump over the compound for fun. So we call that jump compound. We always scout it, and normally it's taken because it's a very, very easy spot to hold. It's a very strong compound, and if it shifts towards it, you just win the game for free because it's really good. So we actually end up racing this team for it, and we beat them there, luckily. And it is SDK. So if they did get that in front of us, we'd have a pretty hard game. But we do beat them for it, and we're basically in a fully chill spot. We all decided to format it because, like I said, it's such a good compound if we get fed. If it goes west, we know Yahoo's 4 in the compound, and we can either play into the swamp because we have good lines on it, or we can play into the compound based on what Yahoo does. But right now, we're just chilling, waiting for the zone.
And at this stage of the game, when you're waiting on the zone, you're probably picking up on the fact like you can hear this gunfight that's happening a little bit further south. You're kind of keeping an eye. At any point in the game, say now, for example, that gas cans crash on the spam, how long would two teams need to be fighting in that vicinity of you guys for you to start thinking about extending out and trying to get some points off the back of it? Because I know that you guys are pretty good at knowing how many team players are knocked around you, and you do extend out when you do feel like there's easy points to be gotten.
It depends on how strong we are. So like right now we're 4 in the compound, but we also see TTG as a threat on the east. So we can't just really spread out right now because they'll probably see us and they could make a potential play on us. And we try to play for like the lobby that we're in. So like internationally, we would never be able to split out because, if that's Danawa on the east or it's Twisted on the east and they see us split out, then we probably get crashed. But because it's, in A teams and we know we can get away with a little more, we can potentially split out. But in the game, we didn't think it was a great idea because doing it on circle pop. Also, we saw SDK in the kill feed as well, so we knew it was 3 teams, which could make it a lot more random when you split out. There could be guys on our hill that we weren't expecting compared to 2 teams fighting when you can hear most of the people. So we just thought it's safer to stay inside. if we get fed, we could like, potentially win the game. If we don't, we could split out. But the fight more or less ended by the time circle popped. So we were like, okay, they're not fighting each other anymore. This circle popped, and we thought, okay, the game's not ending, basically anywhere near us. If it does, we're the luckiest team to ever exist. But we're thinking, what lines can we play in now? And we know that Yahoo's 4 in compound, or they should still be. No one has fought there, and they've been, we call it low presence, which means there haven't been very many guns. But we know that on Circle 1, they should have been there. So Circle 2 pop, they're either, well, they have nothing else to play. They're just 4 there. We know that. Like, they're not going to go to the 10th Circle 1 or Circle 1 to Circle 2 because they're one of the best compounds in the game. So we're just thinking, like, okay, if Circle 3 pops, Yahoo's probably either going to leave or group up on one side of the compound. If it does feed us and we're not in, like if it feeds Yahoo and we're not in, we're just crashing them. If it goes west again, we're probably either playing through their compound or through swamp. So we have like 2 very easy, very good lines to fight a team. So we're just waiting now. We don't have anything else to do, really. Just make sure that we have no threats on edge. Everyone's going to have to send by us. There's going to be chaos on the south. And then, we just have to wait.
Yeah, so with this,
so we do see Yahoo fighting kill feed, and we decide to crash the compound as 2, and then hold our edges too.
Yeah, don't know what you guys call this compound here, but I call it recliner on broadcast because it looks like a reclined seat.
Oh yeah, it does. We just call it crossroads.
Yeah,
it's just it's in the middle of the road. So
yeah, so now that you've got Kick and H1 in here, and you've got that 2-2 split, so I'm assuming that you and Tig are still keeping an eye on what's going on in the south, and then you know that H1 and Kickstart can feed even more information as to what's going in and around those crossroads. And I think that was the main thing, getting those 2 in without taking any damage, right?
Yeah, so as soon as we saw Yahoo and Killfeed, they fought, I don't know what team they just fought, but they killed them. We were like, oh, okay, so we have plenty of space. Yahoo left. We watched the East team, TTG, go north of the compound so that we knew that we could play straight into the compound. And we knocked Luke 12 on the south. I think he gets res by Purdy, but I don't really know. And then, yeah, circle shifts. And we're thinking, I think our mindset changes right here from we can win the game to we need to get kills. We know Yahoo split out. So we're like, okay, let's take control of this west side of the compound. If there is 2 here, which there is, we're just going to 4v2 them. We're going to crash on them. So we do end up crashing them, but they end up leaving as we're crashing them. So we're like, okay, we have more space than we thought we would have because Yahoo left. So now we have to figure out how to get in. So there's 2 plays in our mind. We could go into all this chaos that is Yahoo, spam, and Bisc and all this, and get kills on edge. Or we can play towards STT, sweep the hill, have high ground, and then play down into the road. And that's what H1 calls. He says, hey, we need to pull up on this hill. We kind of did it wrong. Like, we should have been 3 pulling up with an anchor, but I think I pulled up solo with 3 anchors, which is like kind of backwards. But ended up working out because I just went a 1v1 on edge that I probably shouldn't have won.
So there's that kind of pull up that you were
yeah. So I have like 2 people anchoring over me while Kick's driving, and then I'm pulling up solo. I shouldn't have done that. That's like a mistake on my end. But yeah, it played out the way it did. I killed the guy, and they killed the guy above me, and then we kind of have not a lot of playable in front of us, but we know that the road is playable, so we kind of have to drive without knowing really what's in front of us. We know that there's like chaos on the east, so like the south side should be relatively playable or like relatively free. So we kind of just drive onto this little like car, I think it is. I don't think it's a shack. I'm pretty sure it's just like a car in the middle of the road. Yeah. But all this terrain is playable in front of us. So as long as we got to that side of the road, we're chilling. So now we're thinking, okay, we can win the game again. Once we got past all that chaos, and now it's just determining what side is weaker, what side is going to, how do we hold like the West, because we know that the West should be a bigger team. Seeing as it shifted west like 3 times, they should have just had control. We pushed Purdy off the shack because he's scared that we're going to kill them, because we would have if he didn't stay or if he didn't leave. and they end up getting A. So I think he does get a placement off that, which is actually really good.
Mhm.
Oh, and I didn't even see Ayla was up there. What the hell?
Yeah, so
Oh yeah, he pick up. Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember. Okay.
Aloy picked up, and then Kurt was kind of prone, hiding around here. And as soon as he heard your engine,
Yeah.
because I was spectating Kurt at the time, as soon as he heard your car coming that way, he just says, "Yeah, I'm getting out of here." And I think Alo, obviously we can't say exactly what they were doing, but Alo probably had a pretty good idea that Kurt had space to move into to the north. So that kind of left you back dealing with Yahoo, who you knew were weak from a little bit earlier, and I'm assuming you had a pretty good idea that they were in this position.
We knew there were two in the field. We didn't know, because we don't know the map completely yet. We didn't know exactly what was playable here. We just knew that they were going to be in this area. So whenever we're sleeping this, we're just trying to figure out where they are. We know they're only two. So we have a strong fight here. We do end up killing them, but they were able to open up on us. But like Punich was able to open up on us. He just didn't kill one of us, which is lucky on our part. And then, we reset to the shack, reset to the hill, and I guess Kick gets knocked. I don't remember that. But yeah, I'm anchoring from the shed. These guys could like never ever push down. They're just trying to throw nades for flushes and stuff like that. And then they end up resetting west because they have west control. So we take a little more space, which I think is the right play for them and it's the right play for us. We actually didn't know Akita was solo here, but we knew that there was people in this area. So it is really nice to like be like, oh, it's probably a full team over here, and then you kill somebody and they're like, oh, we have a lot more space than we thought we had because he was insta. So we end up killing Akita eventually. I think again I had a 1v1, and for some reason I'm just not with my team. I don't know why. I'm just trolling. But yeah, I think that's just like a scrim thing. I'm just trolling.
Yeah.
And I end up winning that again. And then we have a 3v3 or 3v4 on the north, but we also know that there's like, we know at this point that it's 3 big teams. We don't know the exact numbers. We don't know which team is 3 and we don't know which team is 4, but we know that it's 2 big teams. So we're just trying to hold our side so that no one can come, like, no one can wrap into us. And NRG like probes us a little bit and we don't give up any space. So they decide to go towards rats. Like we have like insane rocks and stuff to hold them and edge control. And H knocks one, so I think they're just like, oh fuck, all right, we have to go west. And then yeah, they force each other west. And I think Kick actually gets knocked by Spoon here. But we just drive over to them and he gets rezzed. Oh no, Tay gets knocked. He knocks him. Yeah, that's what happened. Okay. And then we just take control and we're good to go.
When you see the kill feed that one of the Rats players got knocked, and you know then for a fact that no org are going to push over to try to get on the back of that one, do you feel like at this point here that you've won the game, knowing that you've got, Tig back on his feet, you know that Rats are weak, and you've seen the fact that no org are pushing now in the other direction? Like, is there a feeling at that point that you know that unless you make a mistake, the game's yours?
Yeah, I think we think that most of the time, regardless of like once you get into like phase 6 or phase 7, you know whether or not you're winning the game. Depending on, the terrain that you have in front of you and stuff like that. It's the games that like you get into phase 6 and you're like, oh, we're fucked. That are like, oh shit, we just have to get as many kills as we can. But like these games where you have like that much terrain space and you're sweeping and stuff like that, that you're like, yeah, we've won the game as long as we don't fuck this up. Which I should have fucked this game up. I took 2 1v1s and I just happened to win them. But if I lost that, we probably lose the game. So like I definitely shouldn't have done that. That's a mistake.
And take me into the team, right? So it does seem like you guys are pretty confident taking those 1v1s, and it's almost as if when you get into them, you feel like you're going to win most of them, regardless of whether it's an international event or not. Is that something that you kind of have to build up with and trust in the team so that the guys know, it's okay if Shrimzy goes and pushes that because we're confident that you're not going to die, or at least you'll stay alive long enough that we can back you up? Like, is that practiced or is that just pure reps and confidence?
So I think personally, and I think my team would agree with me, like taking 1v1s whenever you have 4 up is always a mistake. It doesn't really matter if you win like 80% of them, it's still a mistake. You shouldn't be taking 1v1s. If you have 3 of the best players in the world that you're confident with, you should never be taking a 1v1 because that's how you lose the game. Whereas if I have taken Kick by my side, if I have H1 by my side, we're gonna roll through anybody that's in front of us, especially if it's one guy. Like that guy should never be able to kill us. So yeah, it is like a confidence thing, but once you get overconfident, that's whenever you start making a lot of mistakes. And that's a big problem, especially whenever you're used to being better than a lot of the people. And that's just like because we play pubs and ranked so often that we're just like rolling through people. Then when you come up against better competition that is NA or international, you start making like small mistakes like that end up ruining your game, which is just like a problem. It is a good thing to have that confidence, but you should never take 1v1s. It's a bad thing. Unless you're like fucked, of course, then you can take 1v1s, but
Or like last night where Tig just took a 1 versus 4 and made it look like nothing with G3 in it.
If you don't have a choice, then just win it, be that guy.
So we've looked at a map that you guys won on Taego. So now I want to look at a map where you guys didn't get the win. So I wanted to focus on it in more of a, again, we'll talk through the decisions you made and what kind of led to you guys not winning. And I know that sometimes you just can't help it because you'll see a player make a huge play that you didn't expect. So we'll fast forward a little bit. Obviously, the lobby's a little bit different this time. It's more North America focused. But you've dropped inside terminal. This time it's a northwest shift where you pretty much 100% sure the circle's going to finish on that north island. So thought process now in this one when it comes to moving. Because again, you guys usually are one of the very first teams to get rotating.
Yeah, so the most important thing here for us is that no team dropped on our north road, which means that we don't have anybody either camping the Youngturn Bridge or the jump bridge, which is like to the west of the one that has like the actual gap in it. No,
yeah,
west,
yeah, that's
that
one.
one.
That's one.
We call that jump bridge because you have to jump to get over it. So we know that there's no one north of us, so we can go straight over that bridge without having any threat. The only team we have to worry about is like the Youngchun team maybe camping us, but they have such good prio in this zone that we just chill. Like we're good. We have no threats. We get like a feeder compound, which is just what we call like if it shifts towards you, you're probably gonna either win the game or get top 3. So we're just chilling right now. We're holding it, making sure nobody can get into our space. People probe us, but they see that we're a big team. They just go around us. And all we're thinking is like we have a bunch of playable on our west, our direct west. Like all that hill in front of us is playable. And also, if we need to, we can go into Godoc. It's probably one team. It was actually 2 teams at this point with like people on the edge. So we're thinking we're kind of chilling right now. We can play up to our west hill in a bit. We don't have to do it now. We have to make sure our edge is clear. And then we could play direct up like southwest and then play to that like west side. So that's exactly what we do. We push off Mercy and SDK from our compound. We force them around us. And then we play into our west hill. We're making sure our edge control is good. And then it shifts again. And this one goes towards Godoc. So right now I'm on the hill with Tig. And I'm thinking we need to hear if this compound leaves because they should be split with Godoc. Our northwest compound. Yeah. And we start hearing their cars and they leave. So our first thought is, let's take the compound. So that's what we do. We drive into the compound. We're holding our edge still. But once we get into the compound, we go, this compound doesn't really do anything for us. We have to clear our hill. Because if we don't clear our hill, the compound is useless. So we 4-man clear our hill. There's actually nothing here. And we're like, oh, that's weird. There's no one here. We have no kills. And then we get a good shift on the southeast. So we're like, okay, let's just play into our field. We know that a compound's clear. We know that our edge is clear. So let's just play here. We kind of get a lot of control. And then I think we just get like 2 really good shifts towards us. So this game was pretty easy for us. And then something that we were setting up for a long time is that north play that SDK ends up making on foot. This is a really good play, and I think any other team, or not any other team, I think like most teams would get caught off by this. But luckily I was just AFK here. We are buddy system, so H1 was by me, he's covering over me. I hear them on foot. I call them, we get 3 knocks and then they trade me. And then we just util out where the last guy is and we kill them, which is nice. I think I probably should have died there, but I was just AFK and we ended up killing them, which is good. And then, yeah, we're just holding our space. We have really good edge control here. No one's in our area. No one gets in our area. We know where the team across from us is. They have an OM. So we can't just like, ego child them the whole time. We drive back north to get more control. I'm looting util. We get a good shift again on the southwest. And all we're thinking is we still have space here. If we need to play across the road, which we probably don't in this zone because it's going to be very, very late. when we do have to play across, we have lines in because we know where the teams are. So we just keep playing into our side, and then eventually it does shift across the road, which is kind of unfortunate for us. But we know that Yahoo and FB have been fighting pretty hard on this side, and we know where the North teams are, so we have good playable. When this shift happens, we know that EF is holding us out, at least 2 guys on this Northeast app, and then we know that Gas fought on the edge. We know Yahoo and FB fought, so we're thinking, okay, how do we get in? We know there's people in the warehouses. We know there's people edge, so that's not really an option. We can't just go there. We also can't wrap north because these guys have high ground and buildings. So we're like, okay, well, we just have to play straight across. We draw a smoke line. We cross the building. If there is anybody in this building, we're clearing them as 4 or as 3, I think, because Kick is running, following us. And then we messed this up really bad. Like our fight on EF and Gas here was really, really bad. We lost 2 players, which is a huge mistake from us. We shouldn't have ever lost 2 players here. And honestly, like they played pretty well. EF was able to play the road, which I think Yahoo can actually see, but they did end up getting punished, which is like PUBG in a nutshell, right? Like you make a risky play and it works out, and it's really good for your team. So good on them. And then we play into the warehouse because we know that Gas is on our northwest and EF is on our southeast. So we're like, all right, well, we'll just let them fight. So we run in because FB and Yahoo fought on this side. I think FB lost 2 here and Yahoo lost 1. So now me and H1 are thinking, get into the warehouse, and this game is like, it's winnable, but most likely we lose because teams should have more control than us now. And then it's just about micro at this point, like just me and H1 working together, which we did pretty well. I think we brought it to a 1v2 at the end, or a 1v1. I don't really remember.
Yeah, it was a 1v2. I think Vegas ended up holding from the north side, and then Punage was holding from the west. I think they get was it Shinboy gets a knock, I think, or someone gets the knock onto you.
Yeah,
it was H1 got knocked, so then you were kind of left with that decision as to whether to hold. You got the res, and I think you tried to make the play, and Vegas was able to hold you out from the side. But you kind of, I'm going to go back to cams, but I think for the viewers at home, then that map is basically, you're saying, was that micro play with Ever Forward that kind of spoiled your game? Because was it you didn't expect them to take the road, or was it a feeling that you felt like maybe you overstretched it a little bit?
We should have been on the road. Instead of being 4 in the building, we should have been 3 on the road and 1 in the building, because getting into the building is actually really hard for them. But we don't fight in Godok a lot. It's kind of a hard spot to know the terrain of right now. So that's something we have to work on. But yeah, we should have been 3 on the road holding that edge, because if we hold that edge, then EF could have never pushed that. And then we kind of just win the game as 4 for free, which, we know now, but we didn't know in the moment. It's something you have to learn by playing, which is good. But yeah, we just kind of messed that up.
Yeah, it's kind of what scrims are for too. So I suppose we'll kind of do one last little bit before we wrap up, and that's, what are your thoughts on Taego then as a map in the comp pool? What do you think it's got right? What do you think that maybe it's gotten wrong? And what's the comfort levels on this map?
I actually think Taego is one of the most balanced map in the pool. I think it's better than Erangel, I would say, in terms of like a competitive map. I think Erangel is overall like the best map that you could have. It's like, very nostalgic and super fun, and it doesn't have a lot of like bad areas. I think Built to Power is like really bad, but everything else is pretty good. I think Taego is very, very good of a map. The terrain is very good. It doesn't have like super tall grass. I think that like the swamp area is fun because you could still drive through it, and it's not like full water. It doesn't shift off of it. It doesn't have like any really terrible areas that I could like blatantly think about that you can't play into. I'm sure there is one area that I just don't remember, but usually it's really good. There's not like super tall rocks that you can get on in Taego. It's not like Miramar where like some areas are just completely unplayable because if a team's on a rock, you just can't play it anymore. So I think it's like the most balanced map. I don't think it has a lot of bad things to it. I actually just think it's like one of the best maps that you could play. Like I really like Taego. I think it's really good. I think the best team will do really well on it consistently. Like in terms of like micro play, I think macro is probably better for Miramar, but
Yeah, I got off on the wrong foot with Taego and comp because I think the first 5 or 6 games that I covered all finished on the southwest around Hosan prison, and this is back before everybody knew the rotation. Because that's something that you can only learn by playing, is rotation patterns, what way teams are going to go, and you were ending up with 20, 25 plus players dying before phase 1 was over, and it was like, what is this map? But I think it's evolved nicely. I think it's grown on a lot of people. And I think I have noticed that when it does shift southwest, people are rotating a lot quicker now than they were at the start too, because it is a lot more compound focused. I want to finish off now with some quick fire questions before we get up and running. So first off,
wait, hold up. Sorry, I do have one thing about Taega.
Yeah,
they need to reduce the crates. You can't have 18 crates on every drop, and it's the same with Vikendi as well. If you only have 1 crate drop, it's fine. But the fact that people can get 3 P90s from 1 drop is ridiculous. That's crazy. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's a great point. And I'll be honest, see, as an observer too, whenever I'm casting, I hate seeing like all the crate symbols scattered across the map when you're trying to see what's going on. But,
yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah, the kind of quick fire questions I have for you then at this point is, you've had a year now with Gunnar as your coach. I think it's coming on basically a year now, because it was just before the first event last year. How has it been working with Gunnar, and what have you learned?
Gunnar has definitely been the best thing that we could have ever added to our team. I think the best thing that I've learned from Gunnar is probably just the mutual respect that it takes to improve as a team. And not like that I didn't respect my teammates before, but it's just like way more productive and like in like post games, because instead of like cutting each other off and arguing or like trying to get my point across, it's you have to hear other people out and what they want to say, and you have to be able to I don't know, like I just think it's like way more productive with Gunnar on the team. He is very, very respectful of a person, and it kind of bleeds into the team whenever he's very respectful. He's also very funny, so our vibes are very good. And on LAN, it's like it's just immaculate to have like the vibes be good and always be laughing, always being like in a good mood, because you have somebody there that's good with that stuff. I kind of used to be that guy, but I'm nowhere as good as it with Gunnar. I'm also very emotional when it comes to games, so whenever we're having like a bad day, I tend to be more negative, whereas if we're having a good day, I'm very positive. So having him kind of equals that out, where he could be very positive even when we're being bad, or he could just be like, shut the fuck up, why are you being a bitch, stuff like that. And you just kind of laugh about it, because it's just so ridiculous that somebody would say that. Like, you don't think that somebody would say that, but he does. It's just funny to think about. So yeah, I don't know, he's very good overall. He doesn't make us better macro wise, he makes us way better micro wise, where it's like we need to be clearing and we need to be using utility and talking to each other, communicating, stuff like that. He knows that he's not like a better PUBG player than us, so he's not going to be able to tell us how to like rotate and stuff like that, which is, I think is, he's very self-aware of his situation, which is awesome. And he doesn't like make us seem like we're stupid or anything, which is also very good, especially when you have egos on the team. You have 4 guys that want to be the best players in the world, want to be the best team in the world, so of course we're going to have slight egos, and he knows how to deal with that very well. I don't know, he's just really good.
Yeah. And then you've got a couple of international events that you're basically guaranteed to attend this year as being part of a GPT. What do you look forward to most about these events, apart from the competing side of things?
Traveling. I really like seeing new places. I really like being able to travel the world, especially because PUBG compensates us for it, of course. They make it very easy for us. They're always very accommodating. Our hotels are always very good. They always give us something to do. So whenever we go travel, we always have media, and they make it at a really cool interactive place that we can do stuff at. So I appreciate PUBG for that. Traveling is always, it sucks to do it like on the plane. Like being on a plane for 30 hours is terrible, but being able to see the other side of the world is something that I would have never imagined that I could do. Also, I think the second best thing is being able to hang around people that have the same goals and same passions as you. So being able to hang out with like Twisted and FaZe and all these people that want to be the best is really, really motivating. So whenever we go to like practice setups and stuff and you see teams, you see somebody there that's before you, it kind of like it for me personally, it makes me mad. Like, oh fuck, I wasn't the first one here. I wasn't grinding before everybody else. I think that that's super super fun and super like I don't know. I just have like a competition based mentality, so I enjoy the stuff like that.
Yeah. And is there any player in the world that you just love meeting up with at international events other than your own teammates?
Yeah, Soul from Danawa.
Yeah.
Soul is like one of the nicest guys ever, and he's so funny. He speaks like he understands English, but it's like broken English.
Yeah.
So you always have like conversations with him, and you like try to teach him like English words and stuff like that. And we taught him what cap meant, and so we just had like the funniest moments at PGS2, where I would be like, "You guys suck," and he'd be like, "Cap." But it would be like in like the Korean broken accent, you know. So and he's just like so like chill and relaxed. He's a funny guy. I love Soul. He's always happy. So it's good to see him.
Yeah, pretty good at the game too. We got to give him that.
He's fucking insane at the game. Yeah.
But I think that's pretty much that for the today's class. So I want to thank you so much for joining me, Shrimzy. As always, you're always more than accommodating anytime I've reached out to you. So thank you so much for joining. If you viewers at home haven't already, please give Shrimzy a follow on his socials. He streams on Twitch. If you've got any primes, make sure to send it his way. He's on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it these days, but make sure to show Shrimzy some love. Shrimzy, thank you so much for joining. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Gibson. I really appreciate it. It was fun, and to the next time.
Yeah, till the next time.